So if you're pretty familiar with the channel, you'll know that I put way too much money and effort into finishing this building. And the reason was because we have a small little farmhouse and we kind of figured this could be our family room. And so far it's worked out pretty well. And one of my favorite things to do is watch movies outside. But since I live in Pennsylvania and it rains every 7.5 minutes, that's not always practical. So what I'm going to be doing today is installing my projector and my projector screen in my garage. So the cover with a hole in the ceiling actually goes to a conduit that goes into the office. That's where I'm going to run an HDMI cable. And the DVD player is going to be in the office, so I'll be able to keep the DVD player clean. And out here in the main part of the shop, I'll just cover the projector with something to keep it clean. So I bought this universal projector mount on Amazon. And to me, universal basically means that it's going to work for every application except for yours. So my projector is actually going to be mounted upside down. So what I'm going to do is pull these little feet off and I'll mount the bracket through those holes. So as I said, universal isn't universal. So I'm going to have to cut these little brackets off a little bit to get them to fit over these holes. You notice up in the ceiling there's a little bit of damage to the drywall. So I actually moved this projector over a little bit just because of where I wanted to put the screen versus where I need to put the screen is different. So I did have to move it over just a little bit. Here's the final setup in the office. Hopefully I can get enough movies out here that finish covering up this shelf, cover up the bracket in the back. I have my 3 pieces screwed on the sides here, and I'm not going to screw this piece on because the way this is going to work is I'm going to have a piece of plywood hooked to this that is going to sit inside this channel, and when it's time to watch a movie, you open this up probably about 6 inches or so, maybe 8 inches, and that'll allow airflow to go through the projector and keep it cool. And right here I'm going to put a hole. And then I'm going to put a track, and I'm going to have the same thing here because the vent on the projector is right here. So what I did is I just measured down from the ceiling, and this is about where that vent's at. So obviously you want to make sure that you don't cook your electronics. And so the idea here is it'll draw air up from the bottom and it'll push it out the vent. And if I put this hole about right here, that'll be fine. So as they say, time flies when you're busy trying to get stuff done. But I do want to show you one thing before I quit tonight. So it's getting to be fall, but I just wanted to give everyone who had seen this video an update. This is the solar decoration that I created. That's just a solar panel from Harbor Freight that I put into this super old pumpkin, and it's still going strong. So it's a new day, and what I hope to get done today is to get the box around the projector, and then I'm going to build another small box that's just going to channel all those wires. So when I paint everything, it'll just kind of look seamless in the ceiling. But what I'm going to do is get the box where I want it, and I'm going to measure over from the wall to make sure that the box is going to be straight, and so nothing's going to look goofy. And then after I get that set up there, then I'm going to go ahead and build the other box. So I've made my marks. The solid line is going to be the outside of the box. The dotted line is going to be the inside of the box, and so I need to put a piece of wood just to the inside of that dotted line where that X is, and then that's what the box will screw into. Then I just need to measure over to the other side, put another piece of wood on the other side, and then I can set the box in there and then screw the box in from the side. So you may notice as I set the box up there, it didn't have a hole for the actual projector to project through, and that's only because lack of planning on my part. I ran out of the wood to make the track, and so what I'm going to do is do something a little bit different when I go make all the rest of the boards. And so it'll just be a little bit smaller, but really the hole only needs to be maybe 4 inches in diameter. And so I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. Now that I have an idea of where the box will go, now I can actually measure, figure out where that lens is going to be, and then get that hole cut, and then I'll be able to make a small slider a little bit later on. My 4-inch hole saw is toast, but it did leave me a nice little circle here, so I'm just going to have to do this the old-fashioned way and use jigsaw. So after all that cutting and routing, I'll show you what I have here. So this is going to be the cover that goes over the electrical cords. I know I'm probably putting a little bit too much effort into this, but the whole point of routing out the edges and putting the plywood in is to make sure that there's no exposed plywood edges, because when you try to paint it, they won't really look good. So I'm going to let this glue dry overnight. The next thing I'm going to do is use Bondo to fill in all these nail holes. So while the Bondo is drying, that's when I'll go ahead and get my ceiling anchors in. I'm going to be using this Bondo wood filler to fill in the holes. I've used this stuff quite a bit. It works pretty well. So the idea of hooking this to the ceiling consists of me putting a finished screw here, and then 2 on either side. So this is what's going to tie into those boards up top and hold this in place. Obviously the finished screws will have a really small head, and so you really won't be able to notice them. I'll be able to paint over them, but then I'll also be able to find them if I ever need to take this down, which I'm sure eventually I will, just to replace the projector or if something goes wrong. So I hate to admit it, but I just found out about these finished screws recently. They just have a really small head on them, have a Torx head on them, and these things are super nice to conceal. Also, while I'm at it, fun fact, this isn't actually our cat. He just comes over to our house, we feed him, and he'll come in every so often, take a nap on the couch, or he'll come in and take a nap on my little lazy boy here. And we don't really even have a name for him. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this box in place just to see what it looks like. And then I can get the other little box in place, make sure they meet up well. And then I'll take them down and finish them, put them back up. So I'm going to go ahead and get my anchors in the ceiling, and then I'll also go ahead and sand down the Bondo after it dries and get everything in place and get it primed and painted. After the first coat of paint, I didn't really like all the gaps between the wood and the ceiling. I thought it was going to sit a little bit tighter, and I was going to leave it just so I could take the screws out if I ever had to replace a projector or do something else with the cords or something. But hopefully it's just not going to be an issue in the future. I'll be able just to cut along the caulk, drop down the boxes, and then I can just get the boxes right back in place. Here's the finished product. Of course, the paint doesn't quite match. I painted this probably a year and a half ago, so paint isn't matching up exact. So when I repaint it, it'll all match. So the way I was going to open and close these doors, I have a paint pole that I was just going to move them back and forth with. I know it's a little bit primitive, but at least that kind of serves the purpose. So there's probably some people out there thinking that I put way too much effort into making this box to protect this projector. But you know, this is a garage, but it's also gonna be our playroom. So you know, somebody's gonna get out here goofing around and bam, and it's not gonna hurt it. I'm so glad this project's finally done. It seems like it's taking me forever, but I've had a ton of construction side work to get done. So this kind of got put on the back burner. And just kind of as a public service announcement, if your kid doesn't know what they want to do in college, please send them to the trades. There's all kinds of opportunities for work out there. And at least around here, they haven't opened up a gender studies factory. And so I don't know how many opportunities there are for a lot of college stuff. I know a lot of people have degrees, but a lot of people are doing other things than what they went to college for. Plenty of work out there. And so that's my little soapbox speech for today. So grateful this is done. Thank you so much for supporting our channel. Like and share if you think this video will help somebody else. And thanks for watching.